Hi, so my name is Taylor Mormon, and for my learning lesson today, I interviewed my grandmother. Um, First question I asked her was, how did dance play a role in your upbringing? And she actually told me something that I believe is kind of sad and probably contrasts what a lot of other people have or are going to say in these videos. But she actually said that dance didn't play a huge role, that her grandfather, who is a deeply religious and very conservative gentleman, actually believed that that form of expression was a sin and forbade her from doing it. And so, in respect from him, she did not dance. Now, interestingly enough, her mother did dance very well, and was an avid dancer. And her grandfather very heavily disapproved of it. I also imagine that, just to give broader context, and she dove into this a little bit, was I'm half African American. My grandmother being full African American, and growing up in pre-civil rights Alabama probably had a lot of racial tension, and probably her grandfather, who probably saw even worse than my grandmother ever did, um, probably wanted to save or try to protect them from certain things and limit their free expression just so that they wouldn't be bothered. Which is unfortunate. But so it didn't play a whole big role in her upbringing. She danced sometimes at school functions, but really they were just slow dances with her date and no really big outside forms of expression there. It got a little bit more important to her as she got into adulthood, married my grandfather, and danced at their wedding. And he was in the armed forces, so they danced at like some Navy balls and things of that sort. I then asked her, how does she feel that dance has evolved over the years? And she felt that back in her day, she mentioned the jitterbug like 7 or 8 times. But she says that back then, like there were steps, you had to learn these things, and those were the dances. And so they were kind of a barrier to entry. You either knew them or you didn't know them. And if you didn't know them, you were a social pariah because you couldn't dance. And so she feels that today it's much more free form. It's much more accepted and widely just popular. And anybody can do anything and call it dance. And she actually mentioned that she couldn't dance back then, but today at 84 years of age, she feels that she could dance and actually be pretty good at it because of the fact that it is so free form today. She feels that it's still a great form of socialization. It was back then, and it still is today, obviously in a different form, but same concept. It's for enjoyment. It's for social gathering. It's to express yourself, and she feels that it's the same back then as it is today in that regard. She also thinks that while it has changed, there's a lot that remains the same. People still wanting to get together, even though it's more freeform and more accepted nowadays. And lastly, she told me that she thinks that James Brown is the best dancer to ever do it, followed secondly by Michael Jackson. I would flip the two in my own personal anecdote, but overall, it was an interesting conversation because I definitely never thought I'd ever be asking my grandmother about that, but I'm glad that I was able to learn from her and get that perspective, and see that, even though dance wasn't a huge part of her upbringing, she still appreciates it and realizes its importance today. Thank you.